Hello and welcome to part 16 of Let's Create a 2D Platformer in the Godot game engine. My name is Colin, and in this tutorial, not so mini series, we're creating this 2D platformer video game. Of course, in this game, you control the player on screen using keys on your keyboard. Of course, you can walk, run, jump, and fall. You can jump on enemies to squash them. You can get hurt by enemies and lose lives. You can collect coins, shoot fireballs, do wall jumps. You know how 2D platformer games work. But as it stands at our project right now, we have a fairly complete game, but the game is missing something, and that something is sound. So in this video, we're going to be adding two types of sound. We'll be adding both sound effects, which are triggered by events in your game, like collecting coins or jumping or squashing enemies, as well as music. And music can exist in both menu screens as well as your game levels. And for this video, I'm going to be giving you a download link in the description area below this video on YouTube. You'll find a link to download a zip file containing two folders, sounds and music. If I look in the music folder, there are just two sound files. These are both pieces of music. One of them is for the game level. Okay, so that's the game level music, and this is the game title screen music. Okay, and if I go into the sound effects folder or the sounds folder, there are a lot of different sound effects here. And by the way, I got all of these sounds and music from the artist at www.kenny.nl. They are an amazing resource of game graphics, sprites, sounds, music, you name it, assets to create your game. You can get them from at www.kenny.nl. They are not a sponsor of this video. I don't receive any compensation for mentioning them. I just think that they are a great resource. And once you get resource packs from their website, you are allowed to use the resources in even projects that you make and sell in the future. So that's how I'm able to give these to you here. So let's go ahead and check out a few of the sound effects we'll be adding in this video. Jump1.ogg, and by the way, Godot supports OGG sound files as well as .wave or WAV sound files, so these will work in Godot. This is the sound for my little character jumping. Okay, that was it. I'll play it one more time. Now, I'm not going to be using all of these in this video, but let's go ahead and check out a few more of them. Okay, that's the sound, I believe, when you get hurt. Okay, let's check out a few more of them. I don't think I'm going to use that one, but that might be if you click on a button or something that's not yet activated. Okay. A few more. That might be if you squash an enemy. Okay, let's check out one or two more. That might be when you shoot a fireball. We'll be adding that feature in a future video. I'm not sure what that's for. I think you get the idea. So of course in Godot, when you bring in assets into your project, you need to copy the assets or the files into your project folder. So I'll select both of these folders. I'll right click and copy, and I'll go into my project folder, and I will go into my assets folder in my project folder, and I will right click and paste. So now they'll be in my project in Godot. By the way, if you have not seen the last 15 videos in this mini series on how to create a 2D platformer game in the Godot game engine, I'll put a link to this whole playlist containing all of these tutorials up on the screen right now. So check out that little link, that card in the top right corner. Click that to see all the videos that I've made in the Godot game engine and in this mini series. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the Godot editor. Of course, if you like this video or if you learned something in it, please go ahead and click on that like button below this video. It really helps out me and my channel. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this one in the Godot game engine or Blender or other technology, click on that subscribe button as well, and click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. So as it stands in our project right now, we have, of course, a little character that can jump on and squash enemies and get hurt by enemies, and he can collect coins to win the game. So it's a fairly small but complete game. And as of the last video in this series, we also added a title screen as well as game over and you win screens. So if I press the play button now, it'll actually launch the game to its default scene, which is the game title menu screen, which has both instructions basically and items to describe and show you what things are in the game, and it has a play button. So if I press play, it actually starts the game. And of course I can jump on enemies, I can collect coins, I can get hurt by enemies, but if I collect all the coins, I go to the you win screen. That's great. But again, the game is very bland, so let's go ahead and add some music to this title screen. To add audio into your game, you're going to be using, you guessed it hopefully, a node. If I select the root node of my title menu screen, which is this first node right here, and I press the plus, this is how, of course, we add features into our game. Nodes are the building blocks of a game after all. We will find in the main list, without expanding anything else out, any other sub branches in this node tree, there is a node called AudioStreamPlayer, and we're going to be using this many times in this video. This is how you basically add simple sound into your game. So if I select AudioStreamPlayer and press create, and I had the root node of my scene selected when I added that, it'll add this AudioStreamPlayer as a direct child of the root node. I'm going to go ahead and rename this to title screen music. In fact, I'm going to put music at the front of that name just so it's more easily categorized if I search for it or something like that. So this node, which is an AudioStreamPlayer, has properties. So if I have it selected and I go over to the inspector, it has a stream property, which is where I can drag in an audio file. Again, Godot supports OGG audio files as well as .wav audio files. If you're trying to use a .mp3, I don't believe that will work. So I would recommend using, if you want to use an MP3 that you already have, I would recommend using a program like Audacity, which is a free audio editing program to both import that MP3 file and then export it again as a .wav or a .ogg file. I'm not sure if Audacity can actually export OGGs. I'm not sure, but you can convert it from one type to another, so that should work for you. If I select my AudioStreamPlayer, which I've renamed, and go to my music folder in my file system doc, I can drag the two pieces of audio or one or the other into this empty slot. But if I want to hear it ahead of time, I can just double click on it right down here in the file system doc, and it'll open up over here in the inspector, just the source file, and down at the bottom I can press play. Okay, so retro beat, I believe, is for my game level. For the title screen, I'm going to have swinging pants, so I'll double click on that and I'll press play. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do now is click one more time on my AudioStreamPlayer up here in my scene doc to bring back its properties, and then I'll drag swingingpants.ogg over into my stream where it says empty, and now I've got the music in my title screen. But if I were to play the title screen right now, I wouldn't hear the audio because I have to do one more thing. I have to check this autoplay to turn on. Otherwise, it won't play automatically. That's pretty self-explanatory. So now if I press the play button, okay, we hear the music, but for me on my computer through my headphones, the music was way too loud. So one of the things you can do when you have an AudioStreamPlayer selected is you can turn down the volume of the stream that you have in that AudioStreamPlayer. So I'm going to turn down in decibels, which is the most common unit of measurement of volume that there is on most computer programs that deal with audio. So I'll turn it from 0, which is the normal volume, down to say -12 or something like that. And you'll have to play around with that to see what volume you like. But if I now press play, okay, that's much more pleasing to my ears. So that's really how easy it starts off to be to add audio into your game. I'm going to switch now over to my level 1 where I have my player, and I'm going to make my player have a sound when they jump. Now, my character is a separate scene that I've created an instance of in this level. So I'm going to press this little scene button to jump in and open up the original Steve scene, where I'm going to select the root node and I'm going to press the plus button. We're going to add that AudioStreamPlayer again inside of Steve's scene. This sound, we're going to name it, this AudioStreamPlayer, we're going to name it sound. Notice how I'm starting these with music or sound, just to make it easier to identify. If I'm looking down this list here, I can find the sounds and music quite easily now. Sound, and I'm going to call this sound jump. So you're going to most likely have a different AudioStreamPlayer. I'm going to turn off my caps lock, or maybe it just looks like a lowercase. I can't really tell. Sound jump, I want it to have capital S and capital J, just to make it more standardized, okay? So if I select that node now, of course, it has an empty stream. I'm going to go into my sounds folder right there, and I have a sound file called jump1.ogg. I will drag that into my empty stream. Do I want this jump sound to autoplay? Well, no, I don't want the jump sound to just play right when the game first starts, and I don't want to keep on looping, so I will leave that off. So that means that we need to program the sound to be triggered whenever an event happens. So I'm going to look at my Steve's code now, and I'm going to scroll down to where I am jumping in my code, which is right here on my line 28. I have a line of code in my physics process delta function, which says if input is action just pressed, jump and is on floor. So if I press the spacebar on my keyboard and I am on the ground, then I will set my velocity.y to be jump force, which is negative 1100 in my game. That would be an appropriate time to play that sound jump file. So I'm going to go down one more line. I'm still indented here because this is an if statement and I want this to be a result of that. And I'm going to say $sign. That's how you access another node in Godot. And I'm going to say $sign sound jump. That's the name of that node. I'll say dot, and now we can run a method on it. And I believe it is play. And play is a method call, so you would put round brackets or parentheses next to it, and you can specify a start time, in other words, where you'd like to jump to the sound file in seconds. We're just going to start playing that jump sound file from the beginning, so we'll leave this play empty, or we could put 0.0 as in seconds right there. We'll just leave it like that. So now if I do a quick Control S on my keyboard, and I'm going to go back to level 1, I'm going to skip over my menu screen, which has that music on it. Instead, I'm just going to go to my level 1 and press play scene. So now I'm in level 1, and if I press the space bar, you see what happened? It was, first of all, way too loud, and it just kept looping over and over and over again. So if we were to go back to Steve's scene and go to that sound jump AudioStreamPlayer and look over in its inspector and its properties, there is not an option for looping here. And I wish there was. I'm not quite sure why they made this the way it is in Godot. But again, there is no loop option here. It could just be an on-off checkbox, but instead it is actually looping is part of the actual sound file's properties when you import the sound file into Godot. So if I go to this jump1.ogg down here in my file system doc, and if I select it and then go up to the scene doc, and right next to the scene doc is the import doc. If I double click on jump1.ogg, you will see its import settings here, and you'll see that loop is turned on by default. In fact, for all sound files, all OGG or .waves. So I never want this jump1 to loop ever. So I'm going to press or turn off this looping on, and I have to press re-import, and that will kind of re-bring that sound file back into Godot, and it'll make sure that it's never going to loop ever. If you want to have this sound file loop sometimes and not other times, that's a little bit tricky, but in this case, we're never going to have the jump sound loop because we're going to trigger it every time we jump. So I will now try this again. I have re-imported this jump1 sound with looping turned off. I got here by double clicking on jump1.ogg, which brought up that file in the import doc, and then I pressed re-import, of course. So now if I go back to level 1 and press play scene, and then I press the spacebar, well, it only played once, and that's exactly what I want. Now, I can play with the sound a little bit. Again, I'm going to go back to my Steve scene, and I will go back to the scene doc. I'll select that sound jump node, and I'm going to turn down the volume, maybe to -8 or so, and you can play around with that volume if you like. And I will also play with its pitch. So if I turn up the pitch, that's going to make the sound appear higher or more squeaky. And if I turn down the pitch scale, well, it'll appear lower. Okay, so if I turn this up, this pitch scale up to 1.2, it'll sound a little bit more high pitched. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I'll do a Control S on my keyboard. I'll go back to level 1 and I'll press play scene. And now if I jump, it's a little bit higher pitched. Okay, I quite like the sound of that. Let's go ahead and add just a few more. I'm going to go to one of the enemy scenes now. I'll click on one of the scene little buttons for any one of the enemies, and I'm going to select my root node and press plus. This is going to be exactly like before. I'm going to add an audio stream player. I've got it in my recents here. I'll double click. I'm going to call this sound squash. And I'll press enter. I'm going to find the sound that I want. If I'm not sure which one it is, I can just double click on it. So I will try power up 2 and I'll press play. No, that's I think for the coin, so I'll try another one. No, let's try power up 12. No, I think that's if you get hurt, I want to have a squashed sound. So I'll try pep sound 2. Ah, that's what I want. So I will select my sound squashed node here, my audio stream player, and I will drag pep sound 2 into the stream. I need to double click on pep sound 2 and go to my import dock and turn off loop and re-import that sound without looping turned on. And I believe with my sound squash node selected, I'll turn down the volume, maybe -6 or so. It wasn't that loud. I could play around with the pitch scale if I want, but more importantly, I need to program the sound to be triggered to play whenever an event happens. So I'm gonna go to my enemies code because I think that's where we detect if, and I'll go back to what we're looking at here. I want to play the sound squash if the player enters this top checker. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out the enemy's code. And I believe we have a function called on top checker body entered. This is what happens if the character jumps and lands on the character. We're going to play that sound squashed node. So I'm going to put a $sign and sound squash, and I will put a dot and I'll put play. And of course, this is a method call, so it needs parentheses or round brackets. That should do it. Okay, so if you need to pause the video to get that, please do, but I will do a Control S to save. I'll go back to level 1 and I'll press play scene. And so now if I jump and land on an enemy, aha, we got both the jump sound and the squash sound. Let's try that one more time. I'll try to land on the next enemy. And you know what? I think that jump sound was too loud and the squash sound was maybe a little bit quiet. So I'll go ahead and adjust that. I'll go back to my Steve scene and my sound jump, and I'll turn the volume down to -12 or so. And I'll go and I'll save that, and I'll go back to the enemy scene and I'll turn the volume of the squash up to maybe -2 or so. And I'll do a Control S. Let's go back to level 1 and press play scene. And let's jump and land. And I think that sounded a little bit better. Okay. One more time, let's make a coin collecting sound. So I'm going to go to my coins section in my level 1. I've got 3 coin scene instances. If I press the little scene button, it'll open up that original coin scene. I'll select my root node of the scene and press plus. I'll add an audio stream player. I'll double click on it and I'll name it sound coin collect. I like that. And I'm going to use the power up, and I'm not sure which one it is, so I'll double click. That's the one, power up 2. So I will now need to select, of course, the node over here that I want to drag the stream into. So I'll select that node. I'll drag power up 2.ogg into the empty stream. I can adjust the volume here. I think the coin sound is loud, so I'll maybe turn it down to -8 or so. And I need to, of course, program this sound to play. So in the coins script, I have an on coin body entered. Well, it's going to play its bounce animation and emit a signal and do everything else it needs to do. But also, we're going to now access, of course, the audio stream player called sound coin collect, and I will tell it to play. Okay, it's just as easy as that. The power up 2, did I turn off looping? It's easy to forget that, so I will double click on power up 2. I'll go to my import dock. No, I had not turned off looping, so I will uncheck that and press re-import. Okay, that's important to do. It's easy to miss. Okay, so I will save my script and the coin scene. I'll go back to level 1. I will press play scene. And so now if I jump and land on an enemy, I can squash it and it sounds great. And there is the sound for the coin. And I won. Okay, so I'll close that. One last thing in this video, I'll add the music to my game level. So of course, I'll go to my level 1 tab up at the top if I have the scene open, and I'll go to my scene dock. I'll select the root node of my level 1 scene. I'll press the plus button. I'm going to add, of course, an AudioStreamPlayer. We're going to name this music level, all one word, music level. And if I have different pieces of music for different levels, I might want to add something else onto that name, but I think we're good for this little project. So with music level selected, I'm going to go back to my music folder right here. I believe I want to have a retro beat. I'll double click on it just to make sure. Yeah, I think that's the one. Let's go ahead now and select the music level node in the scene dock, and I'll drag retro beat over into the empty stream place right there. Should I turn the music volume down? I think I should, maybe to -8 or so. I find the volumes are all too high by default. And of course, we need to turn on autoplay because we want the music to just start playing in this scene. So I think we might have it if I do a Control S to save, and I'll press the play scene button. Okay, I think you get the point. So it is really easy to add sounds into your game, and it really adds a whole lot. It really makes your game feel more interactive and more fun to play. So it really is worth your time. But that will be it for this video. Of course, if you like this video or if you learned something in it, please go ahead and click on that like button below this video. It really helps out me and my channel. And if you want to see more videos like this one in the Godot game engine or in Blender or other technology, click on that subscribe button as well, and click the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. Check out my Facebook page and my Instagram page. In those two places, I post sneak peeks and previews of what I'm working on next. It's where I communicate with you guys the most, except for here, of course, on YouTube. But that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.